I'm Stephen Monkey Mason and I'm joined with Carl McSorley and we're back for It's Just a Podcast and we're doing Jaws 2 today. Hello, Carl.
Yeah, been a while, mate. Or at least the internet, I would just could have pretended it hasn't been.
Well, Super Mario Brothers hasn't even came out yet, so even though Super Mario Brothers was recorded 6 months ago, but again, there's that many podcasts. Tonight was meant to be a special occasion with Paul Ray. We have no idea where Paul Ray is, so we're just going to get this ready and get into it. This is the reason why. Me or Carl cannot be bothered, so hang on. Are you getting ready to press play, Carl?
I'm getting ready to press play on the awful Universal menu.
On 3, 2, 1, play. Right, so we were prepped for Jaws 2. We've held off doing Jaws 2 for a while because of Paul. Me and Paul even watched Jaws 3 at Christmas at work. And I says, I can't wait to get around to Jaws 3 and 4. But hopefully Paul Ray's okay. He's probably asleep. But yeah, Jaws 2, take it away, Carl.
So for me, this is 100% like VHS. I have little to. I mean, I know obviously the main points, but I can't remember a lot about it. It's been a long time since I've watched this film. What's the first one? Like a load, you know. I mean, like I say, I've seen the first one more times in cinema in the last couple of years than I think I've seen any of them. But no, this is definitely an interesting sequel. Because to be fair, I think you could have left it. First one stand on its own.
Well, the thing is,
needed a sequel.
Well, a summer blockbuster for Jaws was a huge hit. I mean, it's the reason why it's called a summer blockbuster. This is clearly, you know, the next summer blockbuster. It is essentially the same roller coaster ride you're going on. I think it's a very underrated sequel. It does get classed with the other Bastard 2. I mean, it's very well known that with Jaws box set, there isn't a 1-4 box set. There's Jaws, and then the artwork of Jaws 2, 3, and The Revenge. The way it always looks like the Jaws collection. It's very misleading. So there isn't a box set, and I think it's underrated because I think this is a good sequel to the first one because, again, it's the same roller coaster and a little bit perfection. But again, it's what you think. I mean, there's a few different stories for it. They wanted to do Quint's story, which would be years later. I love the start here, by the way, when they find the orca from the first movie.
Yeah.
But again, it's just like they wanted to do that. Mario Van Peebles and Nicolas Cage finally did that story years later. They originally thought maybe 2 sharks as well, so they were looking at stuff like that. But again, it comes down to who wants to do it. Does Steven Spielberg want to do it? No. So they had a new director. That director was fired weeks into production. I think this whole thing, I mean, even Martha's Vineyard didn't want anything to do with Jaws because of how much fandom it bought.
Well, that's it. I mean, it's a huge stepping stone for anyone, but at the same time, it's a massive gamble. You know, you're following Spielberg here. And so at the end of the day, I think this is what makes the film work well, is that it's done respectfully. You know, they're not trying to like kind of just capitalise on the Jaws film and just go totally off track. Like you mentioned, it's like kind of the same kind of ride, but, you know, with enough tone to kind of make it stand on its own. But, I mean, yeah, it's an interesting shot, and, you know, the fact that, I mean, right now, we can see the shark straight away.
Oh, well,
how long did it take for Bruce to make an appearance?
Well, the thing is, with it, they've said with this, like the first one, you've seen the shark, you come to see Jaws 2, that's what people are coming to see. Like, you know, back then, you've got to remember, people would have lined around the blocks and blocks to see this, just off word of mouth for the ride. And unlike 3 and 4, this looks great. John Williams, as his name just come up on there, he's done the music, and the score's a really good score as well. As I say, it looks great. I mean, I went to see Jaws 3D the other week at the pictures, and it looked outstanding for a film that's older than me. And you know, it's, you know, again, it's like Predator 2. People the first one, Predator 2 wasn't a bad sequel. This isn't a bad sequel. The story continues. And it continues right. Roy Scheider is there and his wife's there. Murray Hamilton's still in there. A lot of the locals are in there. Peter Benchley gets his name checked, but he's got nothing to do with it. And you've got to think, it's almost like with Die Hard, again, how can the same shit happen to the same guy twice? It's that kind of like, it worked once, it works again, like, but this doesn't go, right, let's take Die Hard in a building to Die Hard in an airport. This goes, same island, same shark. But again, another theory that I think about this, was this the baby shark from the first movie? Do you know what I mean? Because it's never the fact that it's just one big shark.
Yeah.
Could this be could this be the baby? And again, it does a lot. Roy Scheider comes back. Richard Dreyfuss doesn't. He's away on the Aurora. That obviously the book's a lot different because I think Richard Dreyfuss dies in the book from what I remember.
I've never read the book, but I've heard that as well, so I'll confirm that, yeah.
So again, it goes.
He'd not come back for Spielberg, though, wouldn't it? I'm sure he admitted that he was only going to come back as Spielberg directed. So
it's either that or Close Encounters of the Third Kind was around the same time.
Yeah.
There's some reason. I mean, I think Universal knew what they were going to do. As I say, change directors. A lot of the cast on the documentaries talk about how much downtime they had while the script got rewrote. Problems at hand. But again, you are doing a movie that structurally you want it to make sense, but when this was made, people aren't there to make sense. They're going for the cinema experience of I want a shark. Do you know what I mean? I want the.
Yeah.
On one hand,
absolutely. I mean, we understand now what the project is. We know, like I say, it's an action film, really, but with a shark.
It's borderline horror film. I always think Jaws should be in a horror section.
Yeah, I'm going to say it's definitely a stalker kind of esque horror film. But yeah, I give you that.
There's stalker, either horror or terror. You know what I mean? Because how many people are scared of the water because of Jaws? And even though people say, hey, it's a shark, I think the visual strikiness of Jaws and the way it looks is what sticks in people's minds. There's something very dead about the creature, and I think that's it's a shark, it's not going to bite you. But something Spielberg did just instilled it. So, but it's the same production. It's the same. Zach and Brown, whatever the names are, comes up. They're involved in it heavily. They're pushing forward. Again, it brings all these characters back, and only a couple of years away from the original, where even Horrocks. Hey man, what's he called? The deputy.
Oh yeah.
What if stories? You've just bought the magazine this morning. Henricks, that's him. He wasn't even in it, but then the new director was well, where's he at? So the new director brings back. So there's a lot of change.
Well, this is it, because obviously the book, it does have a much different tone, than the movie. So I think when you're doing a second film, you get to play with the idea of going, well, okay, we get to play on characters that would normally have been involved. So you can feel like that's why you get that nostalgia with all the rest of the characters being in there, even though they're not really doing much. But, yeah.
Murray Hamilton famously nearly walked out of this film for his wife at the time was unfortunately going through a lot of health stuff, and the production even made it so he stayed and they shot everything around him, so they made scheduling conflicts like that as well. I mean, he's really good at the mayor. He literally looks like, typical mayor. Do it till, oh shit.
I could say he's got that annoying face, haven't he, that politician.
Yeah.
Yeah, you think he's sleazy, he's greedy, yeah. But again, I mean, I think that's what they did really well with the first film, and what continued with the same character here, is that, you do love to hate him, you're literally the guy that is trying to make everything work commercially, even though you're not really got the moral standpoint. But Roy Scheider, was he enjoying this? Or because this is the thing about this, because obviously we do know he didn't come back for the third film. In fact, he wanted to be killed off. So how is he on this film? Because I feel like he holds up. The character is pretty.
Well, the way it's going to go there.
Just come in and do the character well.
Well, the thing is, you're going to go to them and go, right, you're going to come back for Joe Sue. And again, it's the paycheck. So, like, if Richard Dreyfuss doesn't come back, then they're like, well, we can't do it without one of them. And then you get them kind of negotiation things happen. So, and I think that's where it goes. And obviously they build the story around. But then at the time they made these films, it wasn't, like, uncommon for actors to be replaced just to get the story going. Do you know what I mean? Look what happened famously with Aliens with Sigourney Weaver, when James Cameron developed the script and no one spoke to Sigourney Weaver, and the script was developed with her in mind, and she got a massive paycheck because, like, oh, we can't do it without her. But you know, these come back, there's a paycheck, they know what it's going to be about. But again, like, as an actor, like Roy Scheider's career, obviously he was in another film called The Sorcerer, which was very popular. He was in The Two French Connections. I think the last thing I ever seen him, he popped up in The Punisher as a dad. But he went on to have a very successful career in the 90s for Sequest, which was another Steven Spielberg production.
I've got to be honest with you, I don't know if I've seen him in another film.
Well, it's famously known in The Sorcerer, which I don't think is... The Sorcerer? Something about driving a tractor. A tractor? It's a Jeep, Stephen. Get it out right. It's got a really nice Blu-ray cover. I picked it up, and it's about them trying to get from point A to point B in this truck. And there's a bit where he generally loses his shit in the middle of the jungle. And it's kept in the film because he goes absolutely ballistic with it. I love this shot coming up, by the way. Ballistic with a machete on a bit of wood, and they kept it in the movie. This shot here, I think, look there, I mean, you can see the shark here clear through the water, you can see it coming, but I just love, like, here comes the fin and here comes the town, and you're like, now you know it's fucking on. We'll set the story up, boom, here it comes. But again, though, you look at
though, it looks beautiful on Blu-ray.
It is now. I'm gonna say as well, like, I think with the Blu-ray, obviously the box set of 2, 3, and 4 is out. This is what I'm watching on. But even Z to the Eye released steelbooks of the 3 of them, and I was like, who the fuck's gonna order them? You ordered them, didn't you?
Aye.
There's always one.
Well, you know, I think I mean, I had the. Which one have I got? I don't even know if I've got the Japanese Jaws.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I do actually. Yeah, so I had that one, and then I kind of like the idea of just having the first 2, and then obviously as it happened, they just kept on coming. So I was like, yeah, why not? Let's just go for it.
As I say, this isn't a bad movie, but like, even if you think, like, with Jaws 3, if they had said it's not the kids from Jaws, like Dennis Quaid playing Michael and whatever they're playing, and they go off and they're at Sealand and a Sea World, and if they again trying to believe that that's the kids, then in the 4th one they're now in the Bahamas and stuff like that. It's like, just fucking leave it. Do you know what? It didn't have to follow the family. It didn't have to follow the family to Sea World.
Yeah. But do you think this would have worked better had they not focused too much on the family?
Well, I think
like maybe 2 or 3 particular incidents that were based around shark. It didn't really have to be, like I say, following this family around, did it?
I mean, the thing is, I think we're keeping it grounded to the family. Again, it's a small island, and it's a small island surrounded by water, and there could be a shark problem. And again, maybe it should have even been dropped down. Maybe it could have been like the baby shark of the mom, the first one. So that's it's viable on that thing, and they spend a lot of time with these kids and appeal to a different, older audience, even though he's like a proper doppelganger of Jim Carrey when he was younger. And this guy right here with the black hat and the glasses on, he went on to be in stuff like Christine. I mean, there is Napoleon Dynamite before Napoleon Dynamite, by the way.
Yeah.
But him on the left there, he's went on to have a very successful directing career, him.
Right.
He was in Legend of Billie Jean, he's been in, obviously, Christine, and went on to direct a lot, so... Obviously, it gets like a Friday the 13th feel as well. You know, here comes the kids. Which one's going to die?
Yeah, no, I was just about to say that. You're getting a very... there's no, like... I mean, I know we're on the cusp of the 80s, but there's no, like, denying that this has 70s written all over it.
But again, for a 70s movie, it looks great. You know what I mean? And like John Williams' score, what's just kicked in right... Oh, I've just switched the telly, so bear with us while I can't say anything. Well done, Stephen, on this podcast. Paul Ray's fault. Blame Paul Ray. I wouldn't have had a chance to touch anything if Paul Ray was talking away. I remember picking up the score for John Williamson, right, for Jaws 2 at Hexham Boot Sale, right? And you never find soundtracks at a boot sale. All you can hear is beeping here. And I was walking past, and honestly, on Hexham Boot Sale, some guy had Jaws 2, the vinyl. I was like, how much you want for that? £1. I was like, £1? Mine.
Yeah.
Oh, I did, and I tell you what, it's amazing. It's got alternative artwork, because the artwork these days is the shark looking like it's coming through the sky with some lady getting pulled on a jet ski, when the original artwork was the same as the original artwork of Jaws, where the girl's swimming on the top, but instead of the girl swimming on top, it was a boat and some guy trying to get back in the boat and a girl, and it's really cool artwork which has kind of been lost. So yeah, that's my waffle out of the way. So you've got no fun memories of this when you were young, Carl? No?
Nah, not really. I mean, like I say, I don't know. So, to me, when I think of Jaws, I think of this like kind of Sunday afternoon, after tea film to watch. Whereas this one just never got any showcase on TV. To be fair, I have very clear memories of the third one and the first one for sure, but this one just seemed to be almost very hazy in the background.
Well, I think the paranoia they pull on Roy here as well. I mean, obviously, the picture and the camera, that's preset from the orca at the start there. He's holding the camera up. But then, like, you know, he hasn't, like, recovered from this. And you talked about him wanting to be killed off. Obviously, he is technically in the fourth film because they pre-used footage from the first film. And obviously, he dies of a heart attack and he dies from the fear as she screams on. But again, he could have probably came back for the fourth one. Do you know what I mean? But again, it's part of a point of view, and I think a lot of the production in this as well, the shark worked better. I think they learnt the mistakes from the first one.
And yeah, you say that, but I think there's very little mistakes in the first one. I don't think there's any point of the sharks on the screen where I think, oh, that didn't work very well.
Oh, not at all. I think more the case of filming productions and how, you know, the shark, you know, when it worked, it worked.
They had nightmare with the actual function of them, didn't they?
Yeah. But obviously they had mega problems, but they hadn't preserved the thing, so they had to build new sharks, and one's pulled by a boat, there's a left, there's a right, there's a looking down one, the ocean floor. They learned the lessons from the first movie. Point of view of the shark. I mean, there's even bits where there's a guy with a horse saddle just behind the fin of a shark with the camera, and that's how they got some of them shots.
Right, yeah.
See, we prepped this podcast about a year ago. It's been a while since we did Jaws.
Yeah, it has been actually, yeah.
Yeah.
Although ironically, like I say, it's been not that long ago since we watched this, because obviously we both saw it at the cinema, didn't we?
Yeah. Well, Paul even went to see it. We all meant to go to the pictures together like we did with a few films recently. But again, it's the time, because me and Paul work together a lot now. Our shifts clash a bit. So just getting this free time to do stuff. I mean, it's to say it's been ages since we've actually done one, and I think the last one I did was solo was My Little Lie. Plus, you haven't replied to me, by the way, as this woman goes off into a lovely... I mean, that looks stunning, that sea there. Do you know what I mean? Just looks amazing. That Jean-Claude Van Damme film I watched the other day was one of the worst fucking films I've ever seen, like.
What have I not replied to?
that message saying, do you want to watch it, review it, then I can put you actually in the good, the bad, and the what the fucks.
I don't recall seeing that message. I might have missed it that, or you might have not sent it to us.
Well, I waffled on enough.
Oh, was it a voice message? That might have been it then. It was, I think I was kind of half listening on the way home, so yeah, that's probably me. So I'm always down to watch a film, mate, even if it's terrible. I'll always watch a film just to almost experience it in a way. If it's terrible, I love to laugh at the film. But I'd also like to see films that are out there and a bit quirky, so you know me, I'm always down.
Just as watching this here, this woman, this is me as a kid. Obviously, they burn the shark to give its own unique look. I don't think it needed that.
Yeah, well, this is it. I mean, even as children, you used to sit there and think, hold on a minute, the shark's all burned up. I mean, is that... Nah, that can't be the other shark, because he clearly got blown up. Maybe he didn't get blown up. Maybe he was just remains. It was really weird. Like, as a kid, because you obviously don't have logic, because now you think that's a stupid thing to think. Because he clearly did get blown up. But I often think, I'm sure as a kid I might have thought at one point, is it the same shark?
Well, that's it. I mean, it doesn't help when by the time we see these movies, there's 4 of the fuckers. Do you know what I mean? It's not like we lived when they came out. I mean, fair enough, I was probably really young when Jaws The Revenge comes out. But when you look at the title, The Revenge, you're like, all right.
Yeah.
But like, you know, it's again, there's 4 films, and a shark is the shark indestructible. But like, again, looking at there, and just looking at how it's chasing her, I really think that, you know, the sequences, like this sequence was well planned out. You know, we didn't have this in the first movie, this underwater point of view. You know, following. We didn't have that in the first one, and that's some speed, and that's a real shark's mouth, and you know, it's kind of like really well done. But this bit here, when she decides just to pour gasoline all over herself, and it's just like, right, why are you doing that? And then the boat just absolutely implodes. That's very... Look at this boat.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried to do that? Water skiing?
I don't know, like, see, I'm not big on, like, the knowledge of sharks, if I'm being honest. But would a shark chase such a fast-moving item?
Well, again... I
thought sharks were more like stalkers. I don't think they would go after something that was, like, going at a high pace.
I mean, remember, Carl, it's just a movie.
Oh, you got to get that in, have you?
Well,
I thought I would get that one in. No, I get it, and I understand it. You know, I totally get it, but I just feel like, you know, that's one of the best things about the first one, really, was the fact that, you know, it wasn't, like, kind of going mental for the people. It was going for the fact that it was like, I'm just going to chill, I'm just chilling, I'm just swimming. Oh, look, I can eat that person. Whereas it looks like this shark has got a vendetta against human beings.
Oh, this is a full-on, like, I'm going to have you. But again, it's like...
The sea has obviously had some talks about this riff-raff group who killed one of their own. See, you know what I mean? Like, that looked like the shark is intentionally going, quick, she's looking the other way, I'm now going to break into that boat. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean,
I'm thinking of that with the money shot in the first film, and now this is obviously the first... this is like our first major encounter with the shark. And they're just kind of not blowing the load on the first bit, but...
It's kind of thing if you went, shark attacks boat, right, shark attack boat, and boat explodes, and you're like, right, would the boat explode? And then... but again, it's one of those things where... we get that thing, but then it's like story driven. It's like, oh, it was a shark attack. Well, no one's seen the shark attack, and the boat's completely exploded, so there's no evidence of it being a shark. And again, it's given Roy stuff to do because the paranoia thing goes on for a while. I do think in this movie, though, he's kind of, you know, he bounces off Hendrix. Hendrix has a lot more. He bounces off his wife. Again, you can't really...
I'm thinking about that death, you know, and I'm like, I don't know. The more I think, the more I'm just like, I've watched it and I've just thought to myself, that's fucking pretty stupid, that, like. Because if she's panicking, right? She's panicking to a stage where she's thinking, right, I need to survive. So I'm guessing that she poured the petrol on herself because she wanted to take her scent off. But then to think that is logical.
No.
Now, you don't,
She
you
picked.
don't put peril on yourself if you're not planning something. But then to shoot a fucking flare gun seconds later, I don't know if I enjoyed that.
Well, the thing is, she didn't pick it up.
You can go stupid and panic and do something stupid, or you can go logical and survival and survive. I don't know if you can have both.
I don't understand. Like, the thing is, right, I understand the myths and theories of rubbing dying or piss over yourself, right? The fact is that shark's gonna fucking see you. So, like, I think she picks it up and she gets nudged, and I don't know if she's trying to chuck it at her or what she's doing, but yeah, it doesn't look good on paper. Shark attacks boat explodes. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like the shots of the shark and the attacking and that were done well until boom. But it's a big explosion, and you've got to put it this way: it's really explosion at sea. Now it'll be a really shit fireball and a little bit of smoke.
Yeah, true. And obviously, the Amity boat is not going to do much good. You'd think you'd have an experience with having bigger boats. Sorry, I was going to make a point, but then I saw the Amity boat and I made it laugh. What was the point I'm going to make? Yeah, so they're obviously spending money this time round, though. I mean, they've sent some serious dough.
Oh, I mean, at the end of the day, it's what the biggest blockbuster ever at this point. It's the reason we have summer blockbusters, so they know where the money is. So that they can afford it, they can get the financing more. Here we are, got a plot device as a setup with the cable at the end. That's just so happened to going to be pulled up again.
Yep. So speaking of how much money they spend, what is your guess, if you don't already know, is the budget of Jaws 2?
Well, we're talking 70s, so it's going to be like, 10 million?
10 million? Try doubling it, sir.
Well, 20 million.
20 million? But at a worldwide, I mean, obviously, as we know, it's super successful. People loved it. They loved the first one, so it was always going to bring in an audience. But what are you thinking we're going to gross worldwide?
500 million.
500 million? Oh, you shot your load too high, my friend. $187,884,007.
Right, you can use your phone. You ask Google right now what it would be from then to today's cost of living prices.
All right, you're talking inflation, right? Okay. is that how you're going to get around it? Are you going to turn around and say it's 500 million because of inflation?
Well, let's have a look. Go on then. Go on then, Mr. Calculation.
I'm going to look 2 seconds. I need to find an inflation calculator. Let's have a look. I accept your cookies.
We haven't talked about this though while you're only about inflation. This movie has the best tagline for a movie ever.
Oh yeah, 100%. And they thought it was safe to go back into water.
Just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water.
I was paraphrasing. You knew what I meant.
Mandela effect.
7. And 8. 4. Oh, that's not it.
The lighthouse they had to build for this as well, so that lighthouse in the background is another set design.
So in
Carl is here, I do promise.
I am. Can you not hear me? I'm just. I'm trying to do math, mate. It's fucking hard.
I've put you on the spot. Alright, okay, so while Carl does his math, we've just had Samu, of the orca, killed. Originally shot and had to be changed. Obviously a killer whale there. Where, again, a killer whale, a great white shark around these waters. Is there something in the water? Do we really need a killer whale there? I know it might be a jab at the fact that there was a movie called Orca. Excuse you, Carl.
I was under my breath as well. I do apologise, everyone.
Orca was obviously a killer whale movie brought out as well, which you can still get. But obviously at this time as well, Shamu was really popular. SeaWorld, Killer Whales. It'd be a couple of years before Free Willy. Well, a good few decades actually before Free Willy. I don't think you need this. In the video game of Jaws, you escape and have a battle with a killer whale as well, but
I think it looks too clean. I think like those teeth are just very obviously fake, and the rest of it's fine. I just feel like when you look at it, obviously it's supposed to be like kind of burnt and mauled and stuff like that, but it looks too deliberate.
But again, if they were going to do this right, why don't you have like? I mean, do we want to see a battle? Do we want to see a killer whale fight a great white shark? It's like we were deprived of this battle.
Well, no, because I mean, like I say, when you look at that, that looks too perfect. It looks too nice and tidy, even though it's supposed to be mauled. I think that's what's throwing it off. I wouldn't mind the idea of there being a whale on the beach, mauled, but I just feel like that's clearly like, I don't know. It's just Hollywood prop. It just screams out.
Oh yeah, it's been.
So I've done the math, my friend. I've done the math. The Bank of England have done the math for me. And inflation as of August of this year, because obviously that's how it goes back. We have $824,727,020. Or £20, sorry, it is in pounds.
Fucking hell, you did do the math.
So yeah, did all right. Did well. Although, like I say, I mean, I made a lot just in Canada and the US alone. That was 81 million.
So, am I right in thinking
like
this?
We knew it was going to be a success. We knew that it was going to draw people in immediately.
So, like,
yeah.
we're talking still at the era of, like, it doing the rounds as well, though, isn't it? Where you've just said there, America, Canada, where these reels would be developed and sent out, and it would be in America a long time before it ever got to England. So word of mouth was a massive thing. Oh, have you seen Jaws 2? Like, we haven't got the fucking internet. And, like, you know, you are going to go to the pictures. Like you go to the pictures, I see you every other Friday, and you go and see all the films, even though half the time you fall asleep watching them.
Listen, I love a nap, mate. I love a fucking bus nap, but I don't fall asleep in cinemas.
You fell asleep super pets the other week.
I know I was on the verge. I was like bored out of my mind, so I was starting to fall, but I didn't fall asleep.
So, but you go into that and you go, right, you go there for the experience and like packed cinema, and you're like, people, I just want to go again. It's like almost going like on a ride. And like, there'll be places like just one cinema as well with one screen. So this was like a massive event as well.
Well, this is it. I mean, that's the thing about these films that, you know, I mean, it's obviously I'm not an elitist, and I'm not going to say, you know, the generational thing, but at the same time, the films are being made to become like this experience, but you do have to use a lot of your imagination with this era. You know, you're talking the 70s and 80s, and you do have to use practical effects, and you have to use all of these wonderful kind of toys that you can do to make it look as realistic, but also as entertaining as you can. So the reason why I'm going on this tangent, because obviously I recently, as of 2022, only saw Avatar for the first time in the cinema this year, and that was only a couple of days ago. And to me, although very pat on the back for James Cameron, I think he's accomplished a really good thing there, especially considering the film from 2009. So what I saw was quite impressive, so I can only imagine why the hype was so real. But it was a screensaver. It's a really fancy CGI film with a very, very bleak story. That's why I feel like these films will always hold a little bit more of a high esteem to the entertainment value, because they have to try really hard to convince you that the shark is attacking the boat and that there is really action-packed environment being drawn on. Whereas I feel like that's my little rant about like kind of modern day. Because somebody will say like the MCU is a roller coaster ride. You go there for the experience. You don't go there for the cinematic story. But at this point now, I feel like it's so bland with CGI. You don't really get any depth. You just get like kind of colourful spray in your face.
There is a deleted scene where Chief Brody is eventually officially fired by the council but the mayor actually votes to keep him. So there is a bit of story going on here. Again, these scenes were filmed early on. You know, the paranoia about the shark, the recovery of the child. There's a lot going on there, which is other stuff, underlying stuff that, you know, they're putting in where people are coming to see a shark movie, but again, you still need to pace it out. You need to build the expense. I think one thing this film doesn't do as well as Spielberg is the Hitchcock side of it, the suspense. This film doesn't really have it in the build-up of the shark. You know, it again. You said it straight away. We see the shark within the opening credits, and then we've had that boat scene where Spielberg probably wouldn't have done that.
No.
But again, it's different direction, different types. You know what I mean? But even this bit here, where this bit here specifically, right, is what's the biggest thing about the first Jaws? I mean, everything like that. I went to the pictures to see it with Brit and my mum, and they both jumped at the same bit where the head pops out the boat. The head, right? But again, this is a carbon copy of that. It's a bit of driftwood. We're not singing Travis. And this like body comes flying out, and it's like, this is their attempt at doing that, and I don't like. He's driving along, sees a bit of wood, right? Why are you going to go in the water after you've got a massive paranoia of a shark wearing beige pants to get a bit of water?
You specified the pants colour.
Well, it is, because he's got. But like, why do it? And it's all for that jump scare. And it's like, this is the one bit where, right, get rid of it. You don't need this bit.
Well, this is it. I mean, obviously, no one on the beach, no one around, and I mean, he does have a bit of a jump there when the wave come at his feet. That was a bit overacting, Roy. I
mean, he is taking his socks off, but again, does he have a stick? Does he want it? It's a bit of wood in the ocean.
You don't need it, do you? You don't need to sit there and go, I can't possibly live with myself if I don't get this bit of wood out of the water.
I mean, if I'm going to be really picky, there's no tyre tracks where he just drove along from. Do you know what I mean? It's just, again, it's just a move. But I mean, come on, it's up to his balls. Like, there's a bit of wood. But again, the music there, though, this is the thing we can't hear with the commentaries, because, it's just like, it is a suspense, but this didn't have to be him. Again, it didn't have to be Roy. If it was one of the other cast, even if it was Hendrix be like, there's a bit of wood. Maybe he's in a different environment where you need to get rid of that bit of wood. It's stuck in a tube or something, or it's, give it a reason to be there. Not just a bit of driftwood and him like, oh shit.
Yeah. I just love the fact that he was clearly so far out, but he still went out of his way to take his socks off.
Well, that's it.
Look at him. Him and his beige.
Spending a lot of time on that bottle.
Oh.
Montage of guns. If you were a gun guy,
you're a cyanide.
Would you still go for like a Magnum type 6 bullets load in, or would you just have a clip like in it goes bang like a Glock? Like, I just don't understand in modern movies where I know it's all about Magnum force and all that, but like, it's clearly like, if you're in a gunfight, do you really have time to put 6 bullets in like the West? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's outdated, isn't it, really? It doesn't quite work the same way.
I mean, they are like Roger Rabbit bullets, like, I've only got 6.
I don't know, it's a very arty scene though, like with the whole candle right up against the camera and everything. It's quite arty, and it's almost like he's attempting to do something slightly fancy. But I don't know. I think he's had this would be great if he had like a conversation with Quinn, and this was one of the ideas that he told him about or something like that, because it doesn't seem like he would come up with this idea.
Yeah, I mean, obviously they keep Hooper out of it by saying he's on the Aurora, I can't get to him, and again, that's what If Stories and Matt and all the guys from down there have done, that spin-off story, what if that happened, because again, like, like modern day now, you would do like, oh hello, you all right? Oh yeah, I'm on a boat, and like Richard Dreyfuss gets a cameo. Like
Yeah.
now, they chuck money at people like that for cameos. Then it's just like, fuck, I'm not doing that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, is it? Yeah.
I mean, Quint's dead. Can't get Quint back in. There's Hyra. The Brits just got home. But again, it's one of those things where now again you would have a cameo by that. You know what I mean? But it's great that they got the mayor. Henrik's bringing back. That was a great. There's Pong played on the telly. But again, it's more like, I think Richard Dreyfuss just said no, but I'm sure he's doing Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking that because obviously the time frame, it is very close, so it makes all the sense in the world that him and Spielberg would be a bit occupied.
Isn't Close Encounters of the Third Kind the one where Spielberg was apparently directing or had massive influence on Poltergeist as well with Tobe Hooper?
Yeah.
Before Spielberg was literally in everything.
Yeah.
Was that the time or it would have been that. He was on the rise, like, wasn't he?
I'm alright.
She didn't do many films. She's actually, I think her last film she was ever in was Jaws the Revenge. I mean, she probably retired. How much money they give her for that?
Yeah, well, listen, I mean, don't want to sound like a dick, but she's not a solid actress.
No,
She does all right in this, but you can tell that she's not going to make a career of it. You can tell someone might have sat her down and said, "Cause you got to consider if this is the only thing she's done. She's in her late 30s, yeah, maybe 40s."
Oh God, I mean, I would say mid-40s. That she's got a couple of years on us, like. With as well though, if you look at that lass from the first movie, the one who slaps him, she made a living of slapping people until she was told by lawyers not to slap them anymore without the conventions.
Yeah. How old's he supposed to be in this film? The son?
Oh, I don't know. There's been a couple of years since the first one, hasn't there?
I don't know, because I'm trying to figure out if the timeline's right on the kids.
Oh, the timeline of the kids, I mean.
Looks like he's got to be, about 4 or 5 years older? I mean, it's not that long, but it looks like it is, because he was only about 3 in the first film, wasn't he?
I wasn't that much older, like. Oh, they've got a camera. Closer together. Oh, fucking hot dog.
I'll tell you what, though, I know it's a British part of me, right? But I've never been a beach person, like. I went on the beach for a couple of hours.
No, I mean, I was. That's why everyone buggers off to Benidorm and stuff like that over here, don't they? So.
That's true.
I mean, the picture when the borders back opened a few weeks into Benidorm where you just couldn't see a drop of sand for people was ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's just fucking weird. Little by little, not 100 miles an hour. And then there, what's he doing up there? It's a shark. It's a shark. Look out! And like everyone's just like, oh, is it really? Like, have you seen how big that thing is? What do you think it is? Do you think he just constructed it on his own? Again, here as well, they're doing the whole press thing, and then he's on about like shooting the bluegrass or whatever it is. It's like, really, like, could you not? Like, again, it's all about like panic and then him being delusionally wrong. But again, I think this is again lost because obviously you don't see the scene where he's about to get fired and they're all putting against him and he's wrong. But then he's right, but then no one really sees he's right because they never see the shark, really, do they?
Nah, not really, that's it.
And there's the sun painting the... Hey, he's at the shark tower.
He's learning karate, isn't he?
That's in the first one, that one, they're chopping all the fence.
Yeah.
It's like he's like looking there. He's like, oh, I don't believe we've got a shark tower. Like, did he not know for that? Because he would have to pay for it.
You know what it is, though? I feel like, given what had happened, I think the mayor might have slipped him a couple of quid, like. Because it's not like they came back and said, oh, well, all's well and good. You know, like, Quinn died. They had to swim back, so I reckon he probably got a bit of compensation, like. And now where's the blame and all that?
It's just the whole, like, oh yeah, he's up with Shark Tower. I tell you what,
sorry,
though.
I might have missed this bit at the beginning, but what are we dealing in timeline here? What is this timeline between the first and this one?
It's about 5 years, isn't it?
So 5 years. So this seemed incredibly quiet compared to the first film. So are we supposed to believe that obviously the holiday makers have decided maybe that's not the place to go anymore? But obviously there's plenty of people on the beach, but if you think of the first one, it always felt like the beaches were completely covered. Whereas this, I don't know if it's because of the way they filmed it, but it feels like it's a very small part of the beach.
Well, it's extras and all. Well, again, they couldn't film at Martha's Vineyard, could they? That was the thing. I don't think they were welcomed. I know some of the town stuff and all that, but I think it's a different beach. I think you can tell by the colour of the water.
Yeah, well, because it definitely feels like it.
I mean, I don't think I'm wrong, but I think a lot of it might have been shot even more down towards Florida area.
Right. They seem to make a massive fuss the fact that he's in the Shark Tower, but like, not just ignore it. You know, you think it'd be like, I'll let him be.
Well, that's what it's there for. It's a Shark Tower. Oh, we're going to get binocular effects. I mean, again, though, that's, again, if you look at that, they would have had to go out there and put something underwater to make that effect. That's not a digital effect or an optical illusion. There's no way you could probably hide that, you know what I mean? Oh, here comes the binocular effect. Not the old-fashioned 8 on the side, but... Look at him squinting. And it's on. Yeah, did you really have to look at the kids? Like you know they're there.
Yeah.
But you're right, though. You look at the mass and just the sheer scale. Like, pretty much everyone in the water there is probably the same people on the beach. You know, in a different shot.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? They've got like 200 extras. I mean, I love shots like that. It's a very Dutch angle, them, of him coming down. I mean, I love like that kind of framing like that. That's really cool. The high cameras here, him running through the beach. I mean, he's causing massive stereo, like, isn't he? He's got his gun. Has he lost the plot? But it's no... Like in the original where the classic pan and zoom and pull back and the whole like people passing and his distraction point of view. Again, it's cloning it. This is a direct clone of that. Without the death, you know what I mean? This is like, oh, there's nothing there, you're wrong. And then you've got some guy in the background going, it's just bluefish. Like the woman going like in the first one, like, 3 weeks? 24 hours is like 3 weeks. But again, just someone in the background just going, he's just bluefish. There he is there.
Yeah.
I wonder if he ever, I mean, don't get us wrong, it's probably who they had in mind, and probably, I bet they asked him, right? He can hate me on this or not, right? Do you think he is based? They base his character as Earl in Tremors, and do you think they would have asked him before they asked Fred Ward?
Oh, that's a good one.
Because Tremors is basically a Jaws on the land, but it's got the buddy cop element.
On the land, isn't it? Yeah.
But you can just see Fred Ward playing him.
It'd have been really fun to have it go from being like, what came first? Jaws came first, didn't it?
What? Excuse me?
What year did Tremors come out?
Oh, don't start this again. Are you seriously taking my biscuits here? Jaws came out in the 70s. Tremors came out in 1990.
It did that. Oh, honestly, mate, my brain.
Like 20 years.
Well, I wouldn't have said. Hold on.
Jaws 1, 2, and 3 came out before Tremors.
Like mid-80s. Didn't feel like a 90s film. I feel part of the 80s. Yeah.
It was made in 89. It's one of them ones on the cusp.
89, so I'm right.
No, it was made in 89.
Film, you fool.
It was released in 1990. But again, they're both Universal Studios films, so...
So no, I wanted to confirm that. I kind of knew that. I just wanted to say it because obviously it would be nice to like kind of have that like kind of almost weird but wonderful aspects of it being Burt Ward from here, but then he clearly goes from the desert to being like, I'm going on holiday, I'm going to the beach, and then having a full-on adventure with a shark.
Did you just call him Burt Ward?
What?
Did you just call him Burt Ward? He's called Fred Ward.
Did I? I don't know.
Oh dear,
I don't think I used his name. I just said him.
Get Paul Ray on the ring. Paul Ray. Paul Ray needs in on here. We need help here. Carl's broken.
Burt Ward again.
Who's Burt Ward? Well, Fred Ward plays. Let's just get back to the film. Fuck me.
I know what it is. I'm going on record. I'm having a mild hyper, and it's making me brain fuzzy. So that's my excuse. I'm putting it in now before I get too crazy.
I'll let you have your I'll let you have your thing. Anyway, pictures of the orca. I think this is a really good twist to the story. This is like him more delusion, but like I love always love mysteries like this. When there's a reveal, there's the twist and like how they do it. I think that's something that gets lost in a lot of movies now, where like, we see the shark's eye, but they see it, and I think it's really cool. Like on this bit.
Yeah. See, this is the point now where I'll go back to what you said. This is the point now where it would have been nice to have a phone call from Hooper.
Oh yeah, that conversation could have happened.
Like he is literally a man on his own right now. He is full on thinking, this is a shark, I'm sure it's a shark, but there's no one on the island that is even backing him up remotely. So this is the point where maybe you could have had a phone call from Hooper saying, how are you, mate?
Yeah.
You're feeling the effects, it's fine, this is totally normal, you got to get over it, sort of thing. That would have made quite a lot of sense.
I think this bit here is terrifying, the reveal of that eye. And the realisation of the photo. I mean, it comes in there, and like even if he's on the phone to Hooper before this, and Hooper talking him down, but because Hooper's on a boat and he sees this, then tries to get a hold of him, then they can't get a hold of him again, and now he's like, right, Hooper's talked him down, and now all of a sudden, right, no, that's a fucking shark, and it's you know, but it's like, it works there. So like the yellow light as well, the eeriness of it,
Oh, I mean, that looks really nice, that, like, just on the back of it.
And just the obscure, it's not like, surprise, it's a shark, it is a shark. But I think as well, this is where the deleted scene I was talking about comes, where he's kind of fired after this or beforehand. Her on the left, she was in the original as well. She was on the beach, she was in the original. Even the old guy with the glasses, he's the guy swimming, who pops up with the little skull cap on.
The creepy man, eh?
So they've kept they've kept a lot of the original like cast and all that. So
they've definitely tried. That's a given. That like they've definitely like kind of honoured the story beforehand. Oh, that was a bit out of focus there on my Blu-ray there.
The focus has been shifting quite a bit at the moment. Like the out of focus, definitely.
Yeah, I was going to say, because when he walked up the steps there, he was fine, but the sign Amity...
Yeah, totally.
That was like totally full, like blurry. Seaweed.
Now we're talking. Been a while since we had the shark though, isn't it?
Well, this is it. I mean, like I say, when you kind of break it down, the kind of way they do use the shark, it's all out in front of your face. But then obviously, you're talking about a sequel that obviously we can't really put them in the same position as last time. So it's not like you can go straight in a boat and just sail out again. But I don't know. I feel like it complements the first one quite well.
Oh, it builds a nice little universe.
Come anywhere near.
Because at the end of the day, it's just like, where do you go? You can't go back here for a third film. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, it did.
But again, you look at it and go, all right, well, this is everything we love about the film because he's these characters back again, and like they try and ground it as a serious film, which it is. I mean, it's fair enough. It gets a bit crazy, and it's about a shark, and you're back for that ride. But they do a lot to ground it. But again, scenes like this work where we didn't need the, again going back to him getting a bit of driftwood and that, we didn't need that for him and that kind of pop. The bit on the beach, again, could they not have thought of some... I mean, don't get us wrong, it makes sense of what it was on paper, but it's kind of like, it's never going to be as good as Spielberg's first one, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, this is it, though, that's the problem. I mean, you're always going to come out a bit short if you're going off... if you're following Spielberg, like...
Well, Spielberg was only 2 films in his career. He wasn't he was riding the hits, but he wasn't Spielberg.
But it's a bold statement. I know it's a very bold statement, but as far as movies go, the first Jaws is almost perfect.
Oh yeah, he should have won the Academy Award.
Nothing in Jaws that you would turn around and say, that was a bit crap, or that didn't quite work. So I feel like that's what I mean. That's what I meant by the whole, like, you're never going to live up to it because Spielberg accomplished what is almost a flawless film.
I mean,
I say almost, but I'd probably say as far as going to say that it probably is a flawless film.
I think it is with Spielberg. You look at Spielberg and you go, right, film-wise, he's had his fingers in a lot of pies. He's responsible for having his name and getting stuff working and giving people opportunities in the 80s, like Joe Dante, being friends with George Lucas, because George Lucas's career wasn't exactly massive. He had, like, his first couple of films were a couple of flops and stuff. But, like, going ahead, he gets his fingers in a lot of pies. There's a lot of movies. There's a lot of biopics, which, the guy's a workaholic. He's very recluse as well. He doesn't do audio commentaries. But then, if you think about this, right, he does this, and then he comes back, like, 20 years later, and does Jurassic Park, and it changes the fucking world again.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He just changes the shark and dinosaurs and creates another classic.
But again, he takes the impossible and makes it possible. Everyone who's seen Jaws was just like, that's never gonna work. Do you know how the fuck are you gonna make that? And then he looks at the alternatives, and then he did the same thing with Jurassic Park, and everyone's just like, well, how the fuck are you gonna do that? And he's just like, well, there's computer graphics, and then look what happened. It changed the world.
Yeah. But what's that series that I do on Netflix?
The movies that made us.
Old films.
The movies that made us.
Yeah, that one is really quite. I love the idea of like how they go into the whole. It was going to be stop motion action and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it was only for the fact that the guy kind of went behind the producer's back and did a little bit of CGI work, and then it just so happened to be playing in the background when Kathleen Kennedy and the other executives turn up to show off what they've done. And I love the fact that like the whole film is essentially a bit of not an accident, but certainly worth putting yourself forward. I love how they're using that yellow barrel outside of his house for the plant pot.
Aye. Again, though, right? That's like
a weird touch, but I like
certain things where that is an Easter egg before Easter eggs.
Yeah,
that's really good, like set design and like ideas, but again, it goes back to how much time they had in between the downtime of everything, when they were like, right, different directors coming in, we're going to do rewrites, and that's just part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, well, we know that she's had a bit of a rummage around with Hooper. As her and Hendrix having a bit of a fool.
Well, only in the book, mind. Only in the book.
Yeah. No, it's
But again, here they go. They're going to go out, get drunk, and he's pissed again, and they're going to go out there and do something stupid.
Yeah.
But how long is this? Is this longer in the first, or is it in the barrel, or?
This one I have to double check. I'm afraid it's got to be longer, or at least it feels longer. Let's have a look at this. So first off, this is 1 hour and 56 minutes.
So you've approximately got another 50 minutes of me and Carl waffling on. I tell you what though, it's getting longer and longer without a shark, and this is where you've got to think.
This is where I feel I'm struggling now. I will say it's struggling to maintain.
I mean, again, it gives story, but there's been a lot here. You know what I mean? But then do you just put some... Like, modern, I think if you made this modern now, right, we would have had a character brought in halfway through and then a character killed at some point here where they would have no relevance rather than that's somebody getting killed by a shark.
Yeah.
You would have had another character put in there. Like, to be honest with you, if this was like a Scream movie, Hendrix was probably killed by now. Hendrix comes back and he gets killed.
I would have maybe killed Hendrix at the beginning. Have him be the reason why it tips Brody off. Is that obviously he'd lost his mate Hooper, and the only other person who probably helped him out was Hendrix. And Hendrix, if he died at the very beginning, then I would have been more on board with that.
Look at them.
Jaws 1 is 4 minutes longer.
Hey, that's not including the credits of Jaws. My God, I remember at the pictures the other week when it was on, and like the credits are done in a minute or so, 2 minutes max. There's not much credits going on with that, and they're all while they're paddling back to shore. And then the 3D credits came up, and they were like still going as I got up and walked all the way out of the cinema. I was like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, think of all the people who worked on Jaws who don't get the name, and then all these people who come along and do the 3D, and don't get us wrong, it looked fucking amazing, but the fact that they don't get that, they all have to have their names on. He's trying to sneak out, he's going out in his boat.
He's still too damn tired on his couch at mine.
Oh, how the fuck are we ahead of each other then if, like, we're watching the same Blu-ray? He's combing his hair right now.
See, it's gone to fade now. They're in bed.
I'm at least... Hang on, I'll pause it for a second. You let me know when he's just opened the door, alright? And all the people listening to this in real time can blame Carl McSorley.
I mean, blame me. There's a 50-50 chance here that...
Are you watching the Steelbook?
I'm Steelbook.
So we're not watching...
I'm playing on my PlayStation 4.
Is he not...
He's combing his hair in the mirror now.
My dear Carl.
Listen, no you probably watch it on VHS, really.
I do have it on VHS, I do.
Yeah, I bet. Right, where am I supposed to remind you?
When he's opened the door.
Right, well, his brother's talking him in the hallway now.
Oh, well, fucking hell, man. That means he's opened the door to go into the hallway, you jackass.
You said that, you didn't run into the hallway, you idiot. You just said when he opened the door, there's multiple doors in this fucking house.
Well, what happens when he goes in the door? He's combing his hair. Now his brother's just appeared to me, so you're ahead of me. I'll catch up to you eventually. Wow. One job, Carl.
I'm going to let you know straight away that they're now creeping down the stairs together because he's going on his sailboat.
Alright.
We're now prepping the boat. To be fair, you mentioned Friday the 13th. I forget which one it is now, but the mate with the jerry curls, he does look very much like a character.
Oh, the guy who
Obviously.
gives him the mask in the third one. Yeah, it's that kind of look
Yeah,
that time. Yeah,
Aye.
it's going to bug me because he comes back for the Crystal Lake Memories documentary.
Really?
Yeah, and he's
I
always
can't
like,
remember that. I remember watching that. That's quite good, actually.
it's on Blu-ray now. Actually, it's really good. But again,
Oh, but yeah.
he comes to the thing though. Like again, he's a group of kids going out, which is quite a scary environment. They all go out there the boat race, which would have been a big thing at the time, and then you put the shark in. So like, the build up is there, but I don't think we've spent enough time with these kids to care about them. They have popped up in certain bits because there's
Do you
Napoleon.
think the film should have been about the kids then?
Probably, I would put more of the kids over. I would put Henrik's in the water with the driftwood, so you get rid of Roy there. And instead of the scene on the beach, you could have had these. But again, it's almost like here comes a second wave of characters. I know they've been. I know they're there at the party at the start, and they've popped up, and then they're on the beach. But I think we've been away from these guys way too long.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like if Brody had been given a higher role, and then he's obviously having these political battles, Henrik's is struggling being the sheriff, but obviously taking the role over, and then very much that's the beginning part. That's going to be like your almost first act. Then it should have gone right into the kids and all the different things. Because obviously the Mike going to be a bit of confidence. Oh, my dad survived the shark attack and all this and the other. But yeah, I feel like they probably would have done a little bit better had there been more about the kids.
Well, the thing is as well, right? You've taken over the fact that in the first movie it's a boat, which is essentially a set. You know, it's on a rig and all that. It's designed to go up and down. You got 3 men on there, surrounded by air. Now you end up with 5 boats, a number of teenagers, kids, and then you put them in that. That must have been so much harder to organise for safety reasons.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? In water? It's just kind of like that would not be kids. That would be, you know, they just wouldn't do it. It's just...
Yeah, true, yeah.
Here comes a lot of divers. I'm surprised that's not the guys who do the underwater photography as cameos.
It'd be cool if they did, yeah.
Because I'm surprised Peter Benchley's not in it, because he was just the news reporter in the first one.
Yeah. Hey, do you know those scuba divers? Do you know why they'd have to go backwards?
It's for the air, isn't it?
No, because if they go forward, they're still in the boat.
Oh, you're a fucking donkey, like.
But
Well, you know, normally you've got some being a history buff, you've got some fucking theory behind that kind of stuff.
that's the best part about it. I thought I'd sick you in with the, oh, you're going to come out with a fact here. Nah, I apologise to all the listeners out there.
Again, though, this is where we get pool kind of stuff.
I will say, though, being based on the beginning of the film and what we're seeing now, they do kind of showcase the underwater realm better. Or at least not better, but like more so. They've amplified it by the idea of saying, right, we're going to actually show you people down in the water.
I mean, you can tell, though, that's just a big tank, though. There's no...
Oh.
You can tell that's just a tank.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, you can, but given, like I say, going back to 1979 here...
Oh, you know what year it is now? It's even worse, Carl. It's 20 years before fucking Tremors.
Fucking hell, Ring, you don't go like that, are you?
That's
honestly,
it.
Man, my brain, honestly, I worry that my brain's going to, like, I'm going to be, like, forgetting all sorts when I'm actually older. Oh, here he goes.
Well, you're ahead of me, so don't spoil it or anything. Doo-doot. Again, this is almost like again, if he did the shot now, it just comes in. I think that shark thing there, I think this could have been better. I think this is too light. And I probably would have went for a different kind of jump on that one. And of course,
where's the blood coming from?
Well, it's the compression in his brain. He's come back to up and ends up with an air bubble on his brain.
Oh, right, okay.
Do you know in a Sphere when you see them and you're like, oh, when you come back up, you've got to stay in the decompression chamber for a week. Like, what?
Yeah, right.
So again, he's seen a big shark. Again, though, it being burnt, does it look right for that? Do you know what I mean? It's like, right. I think that's personally just a bit too clear. But again, though, there goes the little tail. It's away. And then we get shark POV.
Yeah, well, this is it as well, though. Like, I like that they're trying to do something different, but, like, I mean, the other POV was really good. I don't think that was necessary.
That's that air shot I was telling you about before with the saddle when the guy's literally riding it.
Yeah.
So we'll be quite up to date when this podcast comes out eventually, when it's mastered and stuff. I mean, again, Super Mario Brothers was a while, but we have held off doing this. I mean, we will badger Paul Ray and go, look, definitely want you on the 3rd and 4th, but because Paul's got some really good, interesting facts. Like, I mean, there was a couple of nights, a couple of weeks ago, we were on and we played the Jaws soundtrack at work, and all you hear is doo-doot, 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 and like people are walking around and like da-da-da. Smoking in a PG film, eh? And I have that.
Well, it could be a health back in them days.
It's an interesting shot in the mirror, like.
It's, you know what it is? I'm feeling like there is kind of this attempt to try and make this very arty. You know, like the whole idea of having the black room with the candle when he was doing the bullets and suddenly him looking in the mirror in that angle. I think the feeling of trying to do something a little bit more arty than it needs to be.
Yeah.
Not bad. It just, you know, you're trying to set a tone. And he obviously sticks his tongue out, which is just weird.
But then we get another scene with them, and it's like, could, you know, some of the stuff that we're talking about the night before and all, could it not be like filtered down? But again, if you look back when this was made, is shorter better for the turnaround of getting the next batch of people into the cinema? Or does, you know what I mean? Because back then it's all about like, you get the slot, the film finishes, you get another showing in, and that's why films, you know, very rarely then went to 3 hours, because you can fit another showing in and make more money. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But they don't do that now. Look how often like films come out and they're at stupid times, they're not on all day, and like, again, like, how many times have we got the pictures down and there's only a handful of people in? Is it the ticket prices? £25 to take your girlfriend to the pictures, and then if you dare to get some popcorn and all that, that's a lot of money to see. I know you've got the audience saver, but like, people need to come to see the films for the experience. I mean, we went to see The Thing a few weeks back and it was packed, and you know what I mean.
Well, it's hit and miss, really. I think you've got to really be clever with what you show. Because the problem is, I mean, like I say, I realised it was this time last year, exactly today, that I saw the original 1990s Addams Family and Hocus Pocus, both on the big screen. Granted, they were daytime films, so you're kind of looking at matinee, you're not really looking at prime time there. But there might have been only about maybe 5 or 6 people in there. So when it comes to the nostalgia films, I think it's a bit of a gamble. You've got to really get a good one for it to be a really jam-packed set.
I think it's just a good one. You've got to have the right print. It's like, you know, I was very interested a few weeks ago when I think it was Tyneside Cinema had a Con Air on 8mm print, and I was like, wow. But then you go there and like, you go and see something else at a certain place. And me and Britt missed out at seeing the Lost Boys at Newcastle the other night because of the rain and because the cars broke, and the stars just didn't align for the second time when we went to see the The Lost Boys. But we went to see Big Trouble in Little China about a year before that. And we went, and it was just a DVD projected on the screen. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't a 4K, you know, in the 4K at that time was out. Here Comes Jaws, sorry. The 4K isn't out yet. It's one of probably Arrow's next ones to do. But it's again like, you want to go for the experience. And there we go. We eventually now have a shark attack. But again, a shark attack in a boat. He ends up miles away, doesn't he? So yeah, I think just with, you know, everything going on, I think like you're right. If you put it on, they will come. But again, are they well advertised? Not a lot. Do you expect? You know?
Oh, not at all. No, I think if you go, I mean, Odeon, I like him. I go there, that's my cinema, but I don't personally feel that they advertise themselves well enough at all.
But also, like, the seating and that's not comfortable, and they've just had the upgrade. And you're like, right, hang on a minute, if it's a couple of more pound for a couple of Premier seats, like, and then people just get up and change seats, where's the reinforcement? It's not a very nice experience.
I don't know, I can't, I'm not going to be a hypocrite, mate. I'll sometimes go from a regular seat to a Premier seat if I see an empty one.
But again, it's just, it's a nice little shark coming towards him. That's a good shot.
Yeah.
Shark coming under there, you know, fair enough, it's not wiggling, its fins aren't there, but...
But isn't it, and that's is that even possible? This is what I was thinking about the other day, because this is where my brain goes. Obviously in the first Jaws, when you have the first attack, I'm trying to imagine what sort of position the shark's in for her to be out of the body, like our waistline out of the water, and then going like side to side. And I think, okay, I'm forgiving that because they're trying to obviously really showcase she's being attacked without actually showing a shark.
Yeah.
But that looked the same to me again. I don't understand how his body was able to be in that upright position and then being dragged across the water that fast. The shark can't possibly have that angle.
Yeah, they just went for the wall. The one thing they did get right with that scene there is the fact when he gets pulled under, he rips part of the wood with him, like he's got this death grip that he will not let go until and that's something, you know, written there. And again, if you look at it now, you can see someone's probably just saw that. But there's little details they've tried to do there, but
yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was well done because at the end of the day, even like the subtle end of the scene with her just being shocked, but then having a bit of red in the water, it wasn't over dramatic. It was just a realisation of what just happened, and it was quite a realistic scene, really, compared to what they would have done or could have done.
Yeah. The camera mounted on
Yeah,
there.
I think I would say I'm conflicted with the idea that this is probably the best Jaws sequel you could probably make, but at the same time, it's not quite holding up as it should.
I think, you know, the right recipes are there, and there's a few recipe improvements. Main missing thing, Steven Spielberg. But again, I'll put this out there. Lost World is not as good, and it's not even in the same league as Jurassic Park. And Steven Spielberg directed that.
True, yeah.
And Steven Spielberg...
So the thing is, I think ultimately comes down to what I said before. I just don't think it needed a sequel. I understand why, it's cash in, you know what I mean? It's an easy moneymaker. But I just feel like when you say they're doing the best to kind of maintain the story as best they can without redoing the same thing, maybe that's the point. You can't redo the same thing, so therefore it's not so much a should you, it's more like, really did it need to be done?
Yeah.
Not really. I appreciate what they've done. Like I say, it's not a terrible movie by any stretch of imagination. But I just feel like when I'm watching it now for the first time in a long time, I'm thinking, I'm not hating it, but I'm certainly thinking it's not necessary either.
It's like, if you know what it is though, and capable of though, and you're running in there, get a bigger boat. You said it yourself, you need a bigger boat.
Well, that's it exactly, yeah.
You haven't learnt your own lesson.
Have that at all. And that's like not going to hold up at all. If you seriously consider going out to get a shark, you know firsthand that ain't going to hold it. Man, like short shorts.
Look at this, like heading towards a boat. Beep, beep, out the way. It'd be cool if you're seeing Quint's shack and all that and this and that, but...
Yeah, I could say, I mean, like I say, maybe a bit too cliche, but like, even if you had like a moment where the kids go to the shack, you know what I mean? No, let's go and see it, because obviously he's clearly going to be abandoned. He clearly didn't have any family. So it would have been a nice, like, an homage to go, let's go and have a look at what Quint's shack looks like. It's got loads of weird shark pieces and stuff like that. I see it's all coming back to me now. I think I'm going to start to feel like I know the conclusion now.
That's it. I mean, again, it's around that island. That lighthouse is purposely built, so, you know, they've picked where they want to do it. Obviously, this is where they set up all the rigs as well, you know. So, in theory, if you think about me right here, right, they take that island, for example, we will see there, it's a real island. That's real, the lighthouse isn't. And then the barge they end up on, that's completely fake. If you think about there, they spent, like, this is the area they pick. They build all the under and out tracks of the shark and that. And then the scene where the woman gets killed by the boat could have easily been filmed from that beach looking out. You know what I mean? So they just reuse where they could work stuff, do you know what I mean? So in theory that would be the base, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You know, they build all the tracks under there, there's no one around, they're not really, you know, they're not having the shark attack on the beach, which is quite smart if you think about it.
Yeah.
Because that scene, obviously it's the picture that surfaced around the internet, which I think's in the Martha's Vineyard book, of that shark popping up, and that kid before that kid gets killed on the blowy up raft. That is terrifying. That black and white image of that shark, and it is so horrifying. It was actually cut from the film. You briefly see the kid like struggling and all that, but like, you know, they would have had that right near the beach. You know, you got to think about all the extras in the water. I mean, look how dark that water is. And then she's hiding in it, and she, help me. But yeah, Coca-Cola there. Where the hell can they get Coca-Cola cups from? Who's going to think that a Coca-Cola cup's going to stand up on a boat? It's a nice shot as well. That's probably the only thing you could do, couldn't you? Just wait. Be horrifying that though, wouldn't it? Are you still there? Am I talking to myself? I'm talking to myself. Carl's gone. Carl's fell asleep. Carl, can you hear me?
Yeah, no.
Well, you could have said something prior to that. Fucking hell.
No, I'm just trying to focus on something. I'm just trying to figure out what I'm seeing here.
Alright, calm down.
Fucking hell.
Shark! So, no other taglines for this then, though. Just the, just
No, I don't think so. No. I shall double check for you, though. I mean, you don't really need another one, though, based on that one.
The other thing I don't get here as well, like, they come out there, they come to help, and then they just go back with all these other people, rather than him just go to his own.
Well, yeah, they have to make an excuse to isolate everyone, which is obviously feeling a bit forced. Right, let's have a look at taglines. We have 3. The first one's just awful. It's just literally all new. And that's it, exclamation mark. And of course, just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water, obviously superior. And then one good bite deserves another.
Oh.
They got that one as a re-release in 1980. I quite like that one. Yeah, I'll give you that one. But of course, like I say, as far as taglines go for movies, overall, I would say that just when you thought it was safe to go back in the water, it's probably up there as one of the better ones. So, is this, let's see, who's just got knocked in the water there? Is that, aye, that's Millhouse, isn't it?
Millhouse? Now that's a great shot.
Kid with the glasses, the nerdy kid.
That is a great shot of the shark coming up. But yeah, he's the one who went on to be and stuff like. He's the one who buys the car in Christine.
Right. Never seen it, mate.
What? Good film.
Aye.
John Carpenter? Killer Car?
I know. Yeah. It's probably the only John Carpenter film I haven't seen, to be honest with you.
Have you seen Memoirs of an Invisible Man?
Never saw it go around to.
Well, he had to knock himself out.
Oh, yes. See, now, obviously, the shark's on a fucking... He's on a buffet, isn't he? He's had enough, like...
Ah, he's absolutely destroying it up there, like. He does well in this one encounter to put them all together gridlocked.
Yeah. A shark that clever, though?
Well, if you watch Deep Blue Sea, they are.
Well, I mean, Deep Blue Sea, that's scientifically enhanced, aren't they? I remember when the internet when the shark starts swimming backwards. Yeah, they can't do that. You can't make sharks swim backwards.
Deep Blue Sea is... I don't think it gets enough credit. Obviously not now that they've made 2 and 3 and...
yeah.
They've done like Anacondas where they've just licensed the property. But like the first one's Rennie Howland, obviously Die Hard 2, Cliffhanger, really good director. You know, Sam Jackson's in there, LA Cool J. It doesn't get enough credit for how fucking good the practical sharks are in it. They are state-of-the-art submarines, them things. Do you know what I mean? Obviously the CGI
and I had the ball to kill Sam Jackson quite early in as well.
Yeah, but again, it's so bad CGI that has not held up, but the actual shark effects have.
Yeah.
It's a really good film, but the score is really good as well. But it doesn't get enough love, that film. I love this shot coming. This shot coming here. A lot of people give this a lot of grief. This shot is one of the best shots of the movie. Everyone were like, "Oh, you can see into its mouth and it marks rubber," but like that is what you expect on the Jaws ride.
But at the end of the day, though, it looked like a shark, and it's convincing. There's no reason. I mean, it's not. I mean, yes, you can see the flaws, but for the idea of it, it don't. I feel like there is a shark there. I feel like that is a real shark in this environment, and it works.
It's the right actors as well, though, because he looks like he's bricking himself in with the frizzy hair.
So I reckon I might have survived this film. I don't think there's a shot where I would have died at this point.
Well, Napoleon Dynamite and the Sea Witch are going to survive. You think though, like you know, they're buggering off. You would think that they would go and get the kid, brother of him who's knocked unconscious, who was on a boat upside down. You'd think they would have the common sense of like going to get him.
Yeah, teenage kids, aren't they? You can get away with that by just saying, they're a bit stupid. See, this has become very clear in my memory now. I remember the whole throwing the ropes around and getting everyone together. Most of this film has been quite almost a new experience because I couldn't remember anything about it, but
again,
this is all becoming very clear.
I know we've sat here and ripped it to bits because that's what we do. It's just a podcast.
It's an honest approach. We don't lie to the audience. We tell them how we feel.
Well, that's it. I mean, there's loads of people doing what we do. We're not new to the fold. We'll not be the last. But again, it's kind of like you look at these films and they're a part of your life. And like, I remember having, I think maybe the back end of this taped off VHS, off television. Right. So like, you know, but again, it's like, I do look at it and going, yeah, all right, that's Jaws 2. You know, best tagline ever. You know, it follows on the story. And then you go, right, the roller coaster's going down. It's never come back up after this. But it's not a bad film.
No. I would say the best way to put it, it's unnecessary, but if it has to exist, I say it's an alright sequel. It's a good sequel. It's one of those things where I feel like it just, I don't know, like I think I've been like banging flogging a dead horse now, but it's like it just because the first one's so superior, and this is really trying to clutch on to what a potential sequel could be, and I think it just doesn't quite hit the mark. But at the same time, if it had been just done a slightly different, like literally there's a cut of this film out there that would work tremendously well. Like what we mentioned earlier about Henrik being the one with the wood in the board in the water. The slight changes that you can make, there was a legitimately really good film to be made out of it. I just feel like some of the choices weren't solid enough to hold up.
The thing is about sequels and all this kind of stuff, there is nothing stopping them now of making a new Jaws, and it being a sequel in the vein of, don't call it Jaws like they call Halloween, but there is an opportunity for them to make a movie now and make something generally terrifying, as long as it was realistically based and not over the top with CGI, and it's about the situation and the environment, and them sticking Jaws on the title, it would make its own money. Do you know what I mean? They've just, because like it got ran so much into the ground, it makes no sense why they've never made a new sequel after the events of The Revenge, because of how much merchandise, how much, Universal Studios as a ride, how much, you know what I mean? It just makes no sense why they haven't done it, and bring it into the modern era. I mean, that guy's fucking beard choice is amazing. Who's the pilot?
I was literally just, I was listening to you, but I was also sitting there going, that beard is tremendous.
But it's there's nothing. I mean, again, at the moment, look at the opportunity, right? You've got multiple spoof reefs and all that, but then you look at the solid films that come along and go, right, Deep Blue Sea, that had its moment, and then now it's Spawn 2 and 3, which I talked about. Shallows did really well as a release. Shallows, I think Shallows was a really good homage, except for when Holly overkill to get away from the shark. But then you look at Meg, where people are willing to go and see a film about a fucking 60-foot shark in Jason Statham. I mean, there was a really good, really like
sequel as well. So
it's getting a sequel. But like in the mid 2000s, there was a trilogy of films called Shark Attack 1, 2, and 3, and the first one with Casper Van Dien and Ernie Hudson wasn't a bad movie. I remember. Then the second one, I was like, not too bad, and then I remember seeing the third one, and it's got some of the worst special effects in it I've ever fucking seen for the time it is. And me and Jack used to sit there and be absolutely stoned and watching this movie over and over again. And then I remember ringing Jack when I was in Bulgaria on the tournament and going, Jack, you never guess what? And he went, what? I says, I'm sitting across the table from the two guys from Shark Attack 3. And he's like, we'll talk to them about it. And he's like, I don't want to talk about that. And I was like, well, you're in Shark Attack 3, yo? And he went, yeah, but I didn't realise it was going to be that bad. They said it was going to be top-end CGI. And it was just so funny, but like, there's a market there. People still want a shark film, but people want a good shark film. Open Water had massive hype in the era of Blair Witch, and they think real sharks and all that. But like, people are there for the money shots, but they want the suspense and they want the care. That's like, you know what I mean?
If we go back to the thriller, slow burner kind of horror aspect of it, I mean, there is a potential of doing I forget the name of the film now. You're going to tell us as well, because I bet you let you know. The story that Quinn tells.
USS Members. Yeah.
See, that sort of idea, make a modern version of that. Not maybe it's that particular idea, maybe have like
proper money shot. When the shark comes up and gets the boat.
A cruise with a bunch of kids or teenagers, and naturally being out in the middle of nowhere, and having like a slow suspension and just pick people off, and just have it so that it's character building. Right, so who's going to come next and stuff like that.
So Jaws eats a helicopter. People are like, what the fuck? I think that's really well done.
That's ridiculous, to be fair. I was trying to sell my story, but I couldn't help but think, how crazy that looked, because I don't believe that shark would eat a helicopter.
Well, it's not, but I think again it was done all right. It was a really nice money shot. I think coming in, the scene here is deleted when the guy gets eaten underneath. They cut that out, but the approach of the shark, the boat, the helicopter propeller shattering and causing more chaos around the group. Another good element they've brought in, but yeah, underwater sharky.
See, I didn't mind the shark coming out, getting the helicopter, but I should have just done more of a, kind of damage the helicopter. I think the fact that it completely ripped the helicopter apart immediately with the propellers getting all over the place, it looked a bit too dramatic.
Yeah, especially that helicopter, man. That's proper old school, that.
Yeah. There's only one man on a helicopter who can survive a shot like that, and that's Michael Caine. Kick your feet, boy, kick your feet.
She gets killed. Now, this shot coming up is another money shot that I think jolt, when it comes up behind her and just the dunk. Because you've got to remember as well, it's deleted from the original movie. This is very similar to the guy who gets killed in the first movie, where you just see it creep underneath him and pull him away. I mean, this here, this bunk, the deleted scene, which was completely cut, is the guy is stuck in the shark's mouth and he's holding the boy until he keeps the boy safe. Right. And you've got to realise that it's not really acknowledged that the fact that them two kids have seen shark trauma, and one of them really bad, that the fact that he's in shock. And it's not really, he's just like, oh yeah, I'm over it, I'm going to go back in the water. And it's just kind of like, would you really, that being that close?
Well, this is it, yeah. That's why they should have played a little bit more on the kids and had a little bit more about Mike and, how because obviously, I would imagine being the son of Brody, that wouldn't have helped, because he would have been like, you're definitely not going near water now. So they're going to be like, they have that trauma, but also have that upbringing.
Well, there's the backstory.
There's so much more you can tell about that story.
The backstory is the little kid doesn't go because the little kid doesn't go. The story could have been about the other son goes against his dad's will, but also the fear that he's scared shitless of the water, and he goes because of a girl. But they get him out there, he gets hit on the head, and then he's out of the equation. So Roy really only has to go for the other son, which feels like, really? Again, let him say before, where them two lads are about to take his son back. Take the younger brother, or at least get the younger brother out of peril of being on the upside down boat. Yeah.
That's your priority, isn't it?
Did you not learn from Quinn?
I will say though, his acting was a bit sketchy there when the last gets eaten. It's like, no. It's like, oh man, try a little harder. A lot of rope throwing around, isn't there? Seems to be that's what they've done in the last 2 hours now. Chucking rope.
I mean, as you said, you could get this film down to maybe an hour and a half, depending on where you want to take it. But a film's a film. It's the way it is. Stuff's done for a reason. But again, this film would have been done in an era where, you wouldn't have had much interference studio-wise. Fan expectation, word of mouth. You can't just go and put the shark's getting killed and the film's over in half an hour. But it's reason to care. I think out of all these guys, you kind of don't want this guy who becomes sort of the leader of the group, but he's never really established as the leader of the group with the curly hair.
No. Yeah, no, that's it exactly, yeah.
He kind of is growing up, and you're because I think there's too many kids as well. I don't know if you said that. There's not much. You've got him from Christine and Napoleon Dynamite, but I think there's quite too many. There's quite a lot of them, and you don't know who's being killed or.
Now I'm thinking here, right? I'm pretty sure that the young lad was potentially better off than what they are. The young lad, a good foot and a half out of the water, and they're all pretty much sitting in the water. I'm not quite sure why they've gone out of the way to get that young lad to be, here, come with us. We're even in more danger.
It's about to come through the top, isn't it? Through the bottom.
Yep.
They're just not really smart.
But look at the fact when you're sitting in the water now.
But again, he should be like the brother of, you know what I mean? To take the other brother out doesn't really much sense. So this barge thing here, that's man-made. Which obviously they used to move around and stuff like that. And obviously we're about, I would say about 10-15 minutes away from the end of this film and podcast. So again, it's, you know, it's like, the movie doesn't really go back to like what happens after or the aftermath or what happens to Chief Brody was right. You don't see the mayor again. We've talked about that, how his scenes had to be done and dusted. You don't really get much closure from the island itself, or otherwise, yay, the shark's dead, that's the film's finished, let's all go home.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, it feels like, I mean, we know it's drawn to an end because we've seen it before.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel like we're building up to an ending.
Well, it's kind of thinking like...
You know what I mean? Like, as the film goes, I'm sitting here thinking, okay, what's going to happen next? I already feel like it's pretty much done.
The shot there...
It's just going to go through the motion.
That shot there of them floating away with the island in the back and them just staring at the camera, rather than everyone looking around going, where's the shark at? I mean, they're not even looking at the island. That was done as an arty-farty piece based off a picture of Medusa, if I can think right. There's a famous painting of the aftermath of Medusa when they're all trying to battle the storm, and the writer goes into the documentary about that. Because again with Jaws 2, the Blu-ray actually comes with some decent extra features. There's a making of on there, which is obviously the tail end of all the development they did for Jaws 1 as a documentary. So there's a lot of, you know, it does have a lot of extra content. Oh, it's not over yet.
No.
Napoleon Dynamite is back. But then he's like, right, you just keep on going. Don't worry. But again, he's got to go and save the old son, but
this is it though, like, it's been long enough now that the shark's not been around. So, like, again, there seems to be, like, kind of... That's why I feel like it's losing its momentum. Because, I mean, obviously they know it's probably out there somewhere, but I feel like, given what the shark done so far in the film, it would relentlessly be trying to attack them now.
I mean, it has munched a few of them, like, but...
Yeah, I suppose Sorry, I forgot about that. The last two got eaten, didn't she? Yeah.
That water looks dark and eerie blue, like, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Thing is, though, they get there and then they're, like, generally fucked.
Yeah.
But I love it how they all know what it is, but there's no land in sight, like, oh, it's Cable Junction.
Yeah. Now the question is, Stephen, of course you being a bit of a swimmer yourself, are you not jumping out of this boat now and going for the swim?
Not really, because I can only swim breaststroke. I like, you know, if I need to get there somewhere fast, but like I am not that twat in the swimming pool who comes in and does a free like swim right down the middle of everyone who's like waiting the time, passing the time, and like being polite, rather than swimming with their hands and slapping and going, whoa. If you're going to try and do that, go and use the lanes. But no.
Fair enough.
Plus, again, that should be quite shallow there, considering the rock formation build up there.
Well, they're right next to it now, aren't they?
So,
yeah.
It's McGreedy's cabin, that's what it is. After the ice is melted.
Here's Bodie. You don't care for these days, not really.
No, you don't really care about it. Like, you think, oh, one of them is probably going to get killed on there.
Yeah.
And then, obviously, Roy Shiner's got supersonic hearing, because he hears them from there.
Yeah.
We've got your son, better come and help us, because we've got your kid.
Exactly, yeah.
Happy face. But again, where's the story of this? Like, what happens if they don't... I mean, look at them two necking on the background. Yeah, we're safe.
Yeah. Bit of a weird scene.
So how would you think the film was going to end when the shark blows up? Cable. Electrocuted.
Yeah, well, this is it though, isn't it? When you like look at how they beat the shark in the first one, you're gonna have to have that conversation of how do we outdo ourselves, how do we do it again but better. And the cable obviously it's a good way to go. I think if I was going to get rid of a shark, visually it looked good and story wise it looked good.
This shark
just... What else you can do with a shark.
Just the shark just took it out there. I mean, at the end of the day, like, the third one, the guy is in the mouth of the shark, which is quite scary. But the fourth one has two alternative endings. Do you know that?
I've heard of it, but I wouldn't be able to quote it if you asked us.
So, I've actually done the podcast for Jaws: The Revenge on my own years back, and it would, I don't know, probably lockdown, I think.
Right.
And I watched it, and like, at the end of the movie, what I remember, again, it being taped off television, the shark is skewered by the boat. And then the boat goes down with it and breaks off and it's harpooned.
Yeah.
And Mario Van Peebles is dead. There's an alternative ending where Mario Van Peebles isn't dead. He survives. And the shark, on touch of impact, explodes. And it actually cuts to footage of the original Jaws movie as the shark goes down, and even got a bit of string that it has on.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And there's two alternative endings, and you can totally tell as well, because like Michael Caine is in like obviously just like a tank in the back lot of Universal Studio, because the water doesn't even match between the two.
Right.
Still doesn't get, like, I can't wait for Jaws 3, because I remember sitting with Paul Ray watching it at Christmas, and the fact when they put that small little shark that causes all the fucking problems in a tank where you could just put your hand over and tap it and it just rolls over and dies, and you think, hang on, that could just clearly just jump up and bite someone's head off if it wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that cable's back. Oh, and the sharks is busting through. Do you think the shark's too light coloured?
It's very clear. Yeah, because it's very. I don't know. There's. I don't know. Yeah, I suppose that's the best way to put it. Really, it is clear.
It's very light coloured, isn't it? It's.
I would say that was interesting. I remember watching that as a kid, and then I had to like look it up and see what like that was all about. Because I was like, well, why is she so like messed up? We only like swam next to her. And obviously the shark's skin is quite coarse.
Wait as well. It's just there's just the shot there of the shark underwater. I was just looking at that, and you can actually see a boat propeller, and you think, well, which one's got a propeller? Aren't there all sailing boats? But again, it's just a movie.
Just a movie. you go. As a presenter, sell a solution.
Them rocks as well. Obviously they're all just plastic, and then one of the actors is on about how like they were ridiculously hard to stand on because they're wet and stuff. But you can actually see the shine on them there.
But at this stage now, I mean, I just feel like I don't know.
This film is definitely 20 minutes too long.
Yeah, I feel like we're really dragging out now.
I mean,
and like I say, there's still stuff to happen, and you know what's going to happen, but at the same time, I just feel like I'm shit doing my head in now. The lasso keeps screaming. It's like, happy man.
Well, as well as him there, like, alright, when it dangle off there, like, does he remember the shark jumping on the back of the boat?
Yeah.
I was, Jurassic World 2 and Jurassic World 3, right, have really bad covers for, you know, like, the movie is sold on dinosaurs, so, like, I've got really bad DVD releases of the artwork, right?
Right, yeah.
The original poster for Jurassic World is mint. It's a fucking massive underwater tank, a kid standing there, a shark, great white shark, and then the huge megala, whatever you want to call it, creeping up behind the shark, just to show you, like, if you're coming against this, you are fucked.
Yeah.
And then again, it's not that. But people love creature features.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, for me, as far as like movies go, I'll always say, like, with Star Wars, I'm an unapologetic Star Wars fan. I'll always enjoy them regardless of the ups and downs of it. Whereas I know people who love Jurassic Park in the same way, even the new films, they'll still love it because it's just a love a dinosaur movie. And to be fair, there's not that many out there, really, when you think about it.
Not really well done, no. And not like, you know, like having Jurassic Park just got the only way and the perfect way for dinosaurs to actually be in this generation and a believable content. I think the problem with the last couple of Jurassic Parks is too much too fast. You know what I mean? I think one of the things what worked about Jurassic World was there was enough time passed. And there was enough homage, nostalgia, and awe about it, and new. But again, it'll now be done again for a while, I'll imagine. So, but again, with Universal property,
you'll have to take a break on it now because obviously the Jurassic World series made a lot of money. No denying that, but I think overall, I don't think anyone's holding it anywhere near as close as Jurassic Park is.
I mean, two other franchises Universal have, if they're going to try and, you know, capitalise on the creature feature, it is Jaws and Tremors. There are the other two they've got.
Yeah. I like this shot though. I'll give it credit where credit's due. That.
Doesn't get you smile, you son of a choke on this. I mean, I think the shot of it coming towards him, I think it's just too much. It's almost like, right, it's on a direct path. It can only go one way.
Like, I recognise you. You knocked my mate and I'm coming after you. Well, I hope they did that in one shot.
Oh, there's no redoing that, like.
No.
I mean, I hope he knows he's just wiped out all the power to one island.
Yeah.
But again, like, I mean, smoke's coming out of its eyes. It looks like a broken robot, do you know what I mean? Have they held on to that too much? Yes. You know, like, boom, it's dead in the first one. That, it's just like, it's like watching someone get electrocuted badly in, like, you know what I mean? Like, in a movie where, right, you held on that a bit too much.
Yeah, this has a similar payoff to the first one, where everyone just like kind of a little bit smiley, finally relaxed and they survived and they're all smiley. But again, I don't feel the payoff. I feel like when Brody and Hooper finally like swim together, you feel like such a relief of going, finally they're done. This film doesn't give me that at all. Like that whole ending there was like, okay, it's not a bad ending. Like I say, the film's not bad in general, although it does feel like we don't like it because we have shit on it a little bit. But at the same time, I just feel like there's a lot of, it just didn't hit the mark.
Again, it's not a bad sequel. It's good for the time it was made, with the cast returning. The director's done a good job coming in halfway in, like, taking it on. I mean, are they going to play back with all the dick hearts? It's just, you can see why certain stuff was done, but you can see where there could be room for massive improvement.
Yeah, absolutely. See, the foundations are there. It just didn't quite land the mark. And how are they going to get out as well?
Well, the thing as well is, if you were to redo that now, would Roy Scheider survive? Probably not.
Nah. It would have been a sacrificial, I'm going to get him to swim my way rather than my son's way.
But again, you go home, you're feeling good, you've got your money's worth. People are coming back at this time when it's made to see a Jaws movie. And the thing is, they want the same experience as the first. In the right time, the characters. So it's kind of unprecedented at this time, really, to get a quick sequel as much as this. Do you agree? Because there's not really like, you look back at films that are classics and you go, big, but like E.T., there isn't a second E.T., you know what I mean? There isn't like,
yeah.
You know, E.T.'s a little bit ahead of it, but like, again, at the time of these films, there wasn't like, it's a sequel, you know, the films were just like, they were coming out left, right, Midnight Cowboy, there's no sequel to that, there's no like, The Godfather?
You know, the mentality of, and this is not to say every film does this, but the mentality of, I'm making a good film. If it's successful, if they're the following, we will try and do a sequel. That's the mentality I want film to be like. Today, it's building a film based on, that before they even start filming it, sitting there going, right, if this does well, how do we do sequels? How can we connect things out and do that? So it's almost like they've got a motive to be trying to make a sequel before the film first out. Whereas when you think of films like this and Jaws and E.T. and stuff like that, they're not thinking that way. They're thinking, I'm making one good film, and that's the goal.
Well, look at Dark Universe.
To do well, and we do sequels, brilliant. But that's not the main. It's not a priority at all. That's where you stand out a bit more than modern day film.
Well, in modern day film, look at where they did the Dark Universe. We're going to make this, that, and that. Right, well, make a good film first and build on that.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
It's like, we're going to do this and that. Right, well, you did The Wolfman years back, so in theory, you know, like, go for something different, and then maybe incorporate that. But again, they're thinking too far ahead. But look how fast them trailers are over.
That's a prime example of what do you call it? Is it Dark Universe? Are you talking about the monster movies? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because again, I loved some of the aspects of that, but I'd still love to see Russell Crowe do a Jekyll and Hyde film. But the whole idea was, the fact that you start with Tom Cruise and The Mummy, I think that was a really weak start.
Why remake The Mummy? Why, why? There's a lot of whys about it, and again, is Dracula Untold part of that? Is The Wolfman part of that? Where they're going to go with it? But then give people time. Make something, and if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. But don't do what we're going to be talking about for ages, where make Flash Gordon, and then leave it open. Make Yasser's universe and leave it open and never answer the questions or make another one. Do you know? Prayer the Roller Boys does it. It's like, right, you can dream that way. Maybe leave a little leave it something at the end of the credits. Because if the diehard fan know it's there, it's there. But then don't go, right, shit, we're never going to make the second one, and we haven't give you the full experience you wanted to. When you don't do that, you don't hit the ground running.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, like I say, you lose the track of what you're supposed to accomplish. You just don't get the same attention to what it should be given because you try to join the dots to something that didn't exist.
So to wrap this up, because I'm hungry as a motherfucker, what is your how many out of 5? How many shark towers?
Oh, I like that, shark towers. It's such a tricky one. I'm gonna go off just this pure experience of watching this for the first time in many years. What do we do? We do it out of 10, don't we?
Oh, we do 10. Aye.
Yeah, sorry. I just know I'm so used to doing out of 5. I just want to make sure. I would say, 6. Oh, do I do 6 or 5?
Ooh, it's pretty high, that.
Straight down the middle.
I'm going to go straight down the middle.
I'm going to go down the middle. I'm going to say 5 shark towers out of 10. It's not a bad film. It's just not a great one. It has 2 big boots to fill with the first one, and it's always going to be compared with the first one. And that's obviously a little bit unfair on its own merit. But at the same time, like we've mentioned, it had so many good components. It was just the jigsaw was put in the wrong pieces. It had so many different things that could have done just ever so slightly different, and it would have had such a better payoff. So I would say a fair assessment. You're right down the middle. 5 shark towers out of 10.
Yeah, I'll go with that. It's Big Boots to Fill was a great example of it. I think, like you could sit there and look at it now and go, "Wait, they could have done this in a perfect world." I think it's got all the right elements and it does what it needs to do. And then I think that was it. I think that should have been the end of all the Brody family. I don't think there's any point bringing them back for 2 sequels after this and all shattered the way it is. We'll get to that when we do the other ones. But, all the elements are there. It did what it had to do. It just could have done with being a bit more shorter. And I feel like the script overall, when they got Roy Schneider back, which obviously they planned, was like he didn't really fit the story as the main star, but they had to make him the star. When really the star of the movie is the shark. You know what I mean? Because it could have been an ensemble cast. He could have put him in a load of different kind of roles, but he's back and the thing about it as well, just before we finish this, if he was so psychologically scarred from the first movie, which is probably where they would have went in the modern era, why is he so honestly just flips into the hero at the end of the movie? You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%, yeah. I mean, I think, like as I mentioned earlier, I think the idea of him being, his role in this film should have been far away from the waters you can get. It could have been, he knew that the majority of things that went wrong in the first film was down to the politics of trying to keep Amityville the holiday special. So
Amity Island.
Film, you could have had Hendrix continue, the good fight of being sheriff. And they could have had Brody more politically involved in the fight to make sure that things like that don't happen again. And I feel like that would have been a better role for him.
Well, on that note, we're going to finish that. Unfortunately, we didn't have Paul Ray. We haven't had any notification of Paul Ray. Paul Ray is asleep, in my opinion.
Yes, I concur. I believe that as well. As soon as we finish this, we'll get a message up and going, sorry lads, I fell asleep. I didn't know.
Well, we're going to try and wrap this trilogy up as well. I think obviously we haven't done a few, but again, it's just the time and places, but it's been a while since we've done one, even though if you're listening to them all over the place. This is the one after Super Mario Brothers. Con Air was only released the other day, and we did Con Air 4 months ago, so there's our state, one a month. If we can get one filmed, recorded and out every month, but I always like how they come out way before, because at least we're not we're always speaking out of content as well. because we never bring on the outside world of anything we talk about, and I think that's always good about the podcast as well. They are meant to be listened to. We're not talking about like, fucking hell, did you see that hurricane in Florida the other day? You know what I mean? We never talk about that in content, you know what I mean? But on that note, I want to say goodbye, and thanks for listening, and Carl's going to say goodbye, and then we're going to go.
Well, it's always a pleasure, and until next time.
Goodbye for now.